Talked about how the league over in the UK has gone through some changes, and you were there through a lot of the growing pains. Talk about where it was to where it is now.
Yeah, so when I first came over, it was a 10 import league. There was a few different teams, like you had Edinburgh, you had Basingstoke, Hull, some teams that maybe weren't well kind of supported, weren't well bankrolled either, and played in kind of tough barns, and ultimately they met their destiny. But 10 imports. Still the quality of the import back then was still really good, but I think because it was 10, maybe the depth of the league wasn't good. When you got to the third lines, the bottom D pairings, the backup goalies, like you started to see a big drop. 15 imports now, and most teams carry an extra one or two. So when you hit a couple injuries, you're filling that lineup back up with good, not just depth, but quality depth. So, and the reputation, the money's gotten better. How the league's run's gotten better. The teams are doing things the right way. Obviously we mentioned the player coach, and that's done. There's none of that anymore. That's history. So, just all together, teams got better resources in terms of physio teams and equipment managers and, all that stuff. The travel's better. Where guys stay in hotels, and the pay has gotten a lot better. The league's really been well supported. So, everything's kind of gotten way better in every capacity on and off the ice. So yeah, I mean, the standard now is just, tough to compare it, I guess, to North American League. I think we're somewhat with the coast. I personally, maybe it's biased, I think we're better now. But like for example, Sheffield, I don't know if you guys know about Champions League over here. Mm-hmm. Sheffield last year made it to the quarterfinals of Champions Hockey League. Like, you're playing against teams with multi-million-dollar budgets in the Swedish Elite League and the DEL, and they're beating these teams, and they lost in the quarterfinal aggregate to Berlin, who's just a different animal. And I think they lost by a goal or something like that, or 2 goals. Belfast this year beat Breenis in the SHL. So, I mean, you don't go in and beat that type of caliber unless you're a good quality yourself.
We saw Wayne Gretzky have the Gretzky effect with the Austin Matthews. You know what I mean? As far as having that impact down in the South, is it fair to say that we're starting to see the Danny Stewart effect over in the UK? Are we seeing a better young program with a bunch of kids playing hockey over there?
I wish I could say yes, but yeah, I don't think it's me that's changed the course of this league.
Is there a lot more kid hockey and youth hockey going on in the UK though?
Yeah, I think so, and I think they're doing their best to try and improve it. The only problem with the UK is the lack of ice rinks. There's a big debate over here about what's holding British ice hockey back, and sometimes people want to blame our league that we're too import heavy and we're not giving the British guys opportunity to come through. Some want to blame the youth coaching. Some want to blame. For me, it's just there's lack of ice time for these kids. There's not enough rinks. Depending where you are, if you're in a place like Nottingham or Sheffield, these kids are getting on 3-4 times a week, which is okay. But, if you're out in the stick somewhere, you might get on once a week for an hour and a half. It's just not enough, and I think what you're seeing now is a lot of kids that are getting to that 14, 15, 16 years old. They're starting to head over to North America, and because they're the best here, and then they get over there and they're like, Jesus, I'm not very good. So it's tough. For me, I think there's just got to be more resources into ice rinks, and I keep saying ice rinks. See, that's a British thing too, right? Like, that's just unbelievable.
What other kind of rink is there?
But yeah, I think everyone's, they're doing their best, and you got a lot of good people that are trying to maximize, youth hockey, but unless these kids are getting on the ice more, I don't see a solution.
Do you know how many rinks there are in the UK if you were to ballpark it?
Oh boy,
a couple dozen, couple hundred.
There's definitely less than 100.
Really?
Yeah. It's I don't know exactly. I'd maybe say somewhere between 40, 70, somewhere in that range. Which is surprising because it's our league, it's the most watched indoor sport in the country. And in terms of attendances, like our league's starting to climb up there throughout Europe. You get Sheffield that average about 8,000 a night.
Wow.
We average about just over 6,000. Belfast is 65 to 7. Glasgow fills their barn quite regularly. They're just under 4. So you're getting some good attendances, and it's well supported at our league. But after that, it just drops right off.
Not to impugn the work that you guys have done, but you're almost tenfold in the amount of fans we had in Motor City coming out to our games.
Motor City.
It's dressed like a seat.
Yeah.
Even the seats didn't want to be there.
Yeah, no, I played a couple games in Motor. I mean, back in the UHL days when the 2000, what year was it? 2004 was that the lockout?
0405,
Yeah, Motor City Mechanics. They had Chilios and Hatcher, and they were all playing for them.
Mhm.
Smolinski and I think Avery played a few games for them too that year, and I enjoyed trips to Motor City.
This was a clip for a full-length show. If you want to watch the full episode of the clip you just saw, click right here. You get the full show, and they go up live every single Sunday. If you want more clips of what you just saw, click right here. You can see the next great hit.